If you're convinced that the Bitcoin spot ETF is going to pump markets like everybody's telling you right now, you're wrong. And I'm going to prove it to you why. And the reason why I can is because I've seen this scam too many times. My name is Sim. I started in crypto in 2012. And throughout my journey, I've consulted with thousands of individuals, multiple governments, and many institutions on exactly this. And it pisses me off that this same scam works on everybody. Okay? So here's the proof. First of all, when I started in Bitcoin was around here, on my birthday in 2012, because I was concerned that the banks are going to take all of our money, and Bitcoin seemed like the place that was a safer bet than going into banks. So the narrative was Bitcoin will save us from banking collapse. A friend of mine gave me the white paper, I read it, I got it right away, and this was my beginning. And at that point, Bitcoin was about $5, right? Going forward, the first Bitcoin halving happened here in November of 2012. At that point, we had no clue about halvings or any stuff like that. But looking backwards, Bitcoin didn't pump because of the halving. It pumped because of the business cycle turning. This orange line is the ISM index. It shows you when liquidity returns to markets and when the broader economy turns. It wasn't the halving that pumped it. It was the liquidity returning to markets. But we'll talk about that. So then we're sitting there looking at this thing called Bitcoin. Is really hard to buy, and it just starts pumping. And it pumps all the way up to like $200 from $5 in no time. And we were shocked. And we're like, yes, the thing that's going to save us from the banks is pumping. And then you know what happens? In 2013, the banks in Cyprus took everybody's money. Exactly what we were waiting for happened. And you know what happened to Bitcoin then? It dumped. It just kept dumping and kept dumping and kept dumping. And we were so confused. When the banks in Cyprus took all the money, we were so confused why Bitcoin was dumping. Because that was exactly the narrative that we were waiting to happen. That was the talk of the town for us to be like, Bitcoin's going to save us from the banks. And when the banks took the money, Bitcoin dumped. So we're sitting there, confused, wondering what's happening. And then all of a sudden, Bitcoin pumps in 2013 up to $1,200. And then right at the top, China bans Bitcoin. Okay? And nobody had time to react. Many people ran in and bought it right here at the top. China dumping Bitcoin made the whole market collapse. And that's what we were thinking. But in reality, what had happened was the business cycle had peaked. So when the business cycle peaked, we were sure that things are going to go one way, but actually it dumped because the business cycle turned and money left the markets. Okay? Same thing here. When the business cycle returned, it pumped on its own. And then China dumped Bitcoin. Everybody got scared. The business cycle took a turn. So guess what happened to Bitcoin? It started to dump. Okay? And then the only exchange, the main exchange that all of this stuff was on was called Mt. Gox. We were all about Mt. Gox and buying and selling things on Mt. Gox. Then Mt. Gox collapses. And then the narrative was Bitcoin is dead. We were all convinced that the US is not going to let somebody make a digital version of the dollar, of gold. So we were like, the regulator is going to kill it. It's done. It was a nice run, but that's it. Okay? Then everybody kind of forgot about it. And we went about our lives and just, didn't focus on it because we were sure the regulator is going to kill it. And once it started to take a bit of a turn, this was the 2016 halving, this blue line. This time around, I remember people were talking about the halving. They were saying, hey, the supply gets constricted, so thing gets more expensive. That's the reason why things pump. Wrong. It's because the business cycle had taken a turn. Money had started to return to the markets. So then the thing that needs money to go in had started to turn. But again, we didn't know any of that. So we're like, oh, this halving thing is here. Now Bitcoin's going to pump. And right around here, altcoins were all the hot talk. And everybody was like, altcoins are going to make us rich. Altcoins are going to make us rich. So everybody bought a bunch of shit coins, a bunch of garbage ICOs. BitConnect was one of the biggest ones. And they thought that's going to be the way to get rich. Wrong. The narrative is always wrong. It did pump. Things went crazy because of the business cycle. But we thought it's because we're geniuses. And then news came out, hey, the CME Bitcoin futures ETF's going to launch. And around here, everybody was excited. Hey, CME, this means the Wall Street is going to accept Bitcoin. We can't wait for that launched. It launched right at the top. Right at the top. That was the peak when it launched. And then it started dumping completely. And all of those scams started collapsing. All of those altcoins went bankrupt. Fear, fear, fear. Ooh, our narrative around the banks didn't work. Our narratives around the CME launch ETF didn't work. Now that's interesting. That's 2 times they got us, okay? And that's when I woke up to a lot of this stuff. I was like, okay, so there's clearly a narrative scam being played. You got to have a strategy to play this thing. And then, right here, they said, oh, there's a new Bitcoin coming. Bitcoin Cash. It's faster. It's better. We're forking. And everybody freaked out. Even the smartest players freaked out. They went, oh my God, a better Bitcoin has been invented. I think this is the death of Bitcoin. Sell it. So everybody did. It causes this dump. Guess what? That was actually the bottom. Narrative. Wrong. Again. Then it kind of bounced around, did its thing. We were unsure about it. And then this thing happened, right? This cough happened in the world. Everybody started coughing. If you remember, 2020. We were like, the world is going to end because of a cough. And that was COVID. Everybody dumped. And we were sure when the world ends, Bitcoin would pump. No. When the world ends, everybody sells everything because they panic. Then we were like, hey, but the Bitcoin halving's here again. This is the 2020 Bitcoin halving. That means Bitcoin is going to get more rare and it's going to pump. Wrong. Bitcoin is pumping because the business cycle had bottomed. Money had started to return to the markets. It just follows along with that. Okay. We are continuing. And then we heard, hey, MicroStrategy just bought Bitcoin. Oh my God, a big institution just bought Bitcoin. Institutional adoption is here, baby. We're all going to get rich. All this waiting has been amazing. Let's wait for more institutions to adopt. The whole market pumps. Wow, we're going to the moon. Hey, did you hear Tesla just bought Bitcoin? Right here. Tesla just bought Bitcoin. All the narrative was Tesla bought Bitcoin. We're going to 250,000. We're going to 400 bajillion, fafillion, mamillion. That was the top for this bump. That was actually the top of Bitcoin when you look at the background data. Again, narrative wrong. What's in the news? Wrong. Right here, El Salvador adopted Bitcoin. So then strength came back. People were like, countries are adopting it. Now it has to pump. Now it has to pump. But in our minds, most people were thinking, I wish I got out at 58K that last time when it pumped. I wish I got out. Okay. Then it did start to pump again. Bitcoin started to pump. Everybody got excited. Now Plan B is telling you $100,000 Bitcoin's coming up. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Moon time. Get onto the ships. Right here at 58K, I just got out. I got out. I got all my people out. I was like, get the fuck out. Take your profits. You guys got in. We all got in at the low 20s, low 15s range. Get out. Okay. And then news comes out. The Bitcoin futures ETF has launched. Wow. More adoption by Wall Street. Now we're definitely going to 100,000 million billion dollars. That was the top. Narrative. Wrong. Again. That's every time you hear the word ETF, every time you hear the news, remember, they're screwing you. Okay, all right, you get in the game? Then, of course, we didn't go to 100K. Everybody was left holding bags. Luna collapses. Everybody gets terrified. And everybody starts selling. That's when I started buying. Then FTX collapses. Everybody starts selling. I start buying. We will keep dropping. That was the narrative. Then recently it's like, hey, the Bitcoin spot ETF is coming, man. I know last time it was futures ETF because the supply does not get bought during futures. It's just paper. But spot ETF is going to create so much demand that we're all going to get rich. Start dumping all of your bags inside. And guess what? It did. It did pump. We went all the way from 28K to 44K. Mind-blowing little tiny gain when it comes to crypto. And now we are at the peak of the Bitcoin ETF hype. Like when this spot ETF launches, oh my God, Wall Street's just going to take their trillions of dollars and they're just going to give it to us and we're all going to get rich and we're all going to the moon. Wrong. That's not how you go to the moon. These institutions are not stupid. They know how to take all of your money. They convince you of a narrative, get you to run in, buy around these prices. Okay, this 40, 45K is where I'm seeing too many people run in, and it pisses me off, but it's your job. It's your choice. You're the only person who can lose all of your money. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to lose it to the institution who has a plan. And their plan is to convince you of this ETF garbage and get you to run in. I would bet all my money. I have bet a lot of my money on the fact that this is going to be the top. Whenever, not even just this, whenever the Bitcoin spot ETF launches, it is going to be a local top. Okay? A local top. Because looking back, futures ETF, top. CME futures ETF, top. Every time. It's a local top. Now, is Bitcoin going to go to crazy places? Yeah. Because the business cycle is turning. And we got a halving coming up. So everybody gets convinced that the halving makes it pump. No, the business cycle is turning. Liquidity is returning to the markets. But, my loves, hopefully you understand this game. Do not trust the narratives. Do the opposite of what everyone is doing. And I know everybody on YouTube is screaming the same thing, so that's why the few hundred of you that are going to see this hopefully win out in this game. That's it. That's all I got to share. Thank you so much.